Good morning this fine Thursday morning. It's almost 1 year since the devolved government came into place, or the system of government devolution came into place, and a lot of institutions are taking an audit to find out just how far we've come, what are the achievements, what are the challenges, and presenting reports about how far we've gone in implementing the Constitution and establishing devolved units. This morning, we're favored to have the chairman of the Constitution Implementation Commission, Mr. Charles Nyachai, and Sela Kingoro, who is Assistant Director of Research and Planning at the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, who last week released some sort of tentative information about how those units have so far gone in implementing, establishing themselves and in compliance with the constitutional requirements for the face of Kenya, 30% in recruitment and staffing of those counties. So we want to explore just 1 year down the line, how far are we with devolution in what I'm calling the devolution report. Charles, let's start with you. Tomorrow you are unleashing your assessment. What is the overall picture that you've got since we started this devolution journey?
Yeah. Tomorrow, in the county of Nakuru, CIC will be releasing a report that we are calling from steps to strides, the devolution 1 year down the line. What we have done is that we have, over a period of several months, we've been to all the counties, and we've looked at what is the status of operationalization of the system of devolved government from the March 2013 election, after which the system came into effect. And we are essentially looking at, during this period, what has been the experience, what have been the successes in terms of what was contemplated from devolution, what have been the challenges, and what are the lessons going forward. Now, we do this pursuant to the mandate that CIC has under Section 15 of the 6th Schedule to the Constitution, which is to monitor and ensure the effective implementation of the system of devolved government. And in that report, we identify, as I say, what successes there have been. For example, in most counties, the structures have been set up, the systems have been established. Those that needed to be appointed to office, have been appointed, and the counties have begun to deliver on the mandates that on the functions that they are given under the 4th schedule of the Constitution. But of course, in so doing, there has been quite a number of challenges. Yeah. The primary practical challenge being the process of transfer of functions, because the experience was that functions were transferred in a manner which perhaps the unbundling had not been done fully or perhaps even at all. That's why even today you still find a lack of clarity, for example, on the issue of roads, which roads fall under the county governments and which roads fall under the national government. Another example, of course, is which became a big national problem, was the process of the transfer of human resources, for example, in the health sector, following the transfer of the function of health, which other than the 2 national referral hospitals and policy and standards, the whole of health is a function that, under the 4th schedule, is allocated to the county governments. But of course, there was a challenge about that this was done quickly before even the process transferring the necessary human resource was done. And
would we say that in terms of establishment,
yeah.
Would we say that we are 70% or 100% done in establishing devolution?
Yes, I would.
Government, yeah.
Yeah, if I was to state in percentage terms, I mean, this is not scientific, but just my own feel of it, I would say we are like 70%.
70%.
Yeah.
One of the biggest, of course, in my view, your mandates are twofold. One is the legislation to operationalize the Constitution and, in fact, you know, the Constitution, 2010 Constitution, as it were, and then establishment of the structures of governments as county governments. Now, let's look at the more, which had deadlines. Legislation to operationalize the Constitution at certain timelines. How far is that? We had hitches earlier on last year. This year we've had some smooth run.
Yeah, I think despite maybe little hitches of delays here and there at the earlier time, but these were more to do with delays not in terms of the constitutional framework, but in terms, for example, of the whole process, from the draft legislation and the review of it, and Parliament having sufficient time to interrogate the legislation before it passed it. But that's behind us, and by and large, all the legislation that was required, the national legislation that was required to give effect or to implement devolution, that was done. Now, of course, there will be, as we move along, like anything else, there will be times when we will look at the legislation and probably begin to have...
some of the legislation was, of course, done in a hurry. There's been, with hindsight, there are certain things which already need amendment and so forth, right?
Yeah, and I think that is inevitable, Makali. I think that sometimes you need to go through a process in order to be able to realize that maybe it requires, some review. For me, personally, one of the things that, and I have said this publicly before, that I think that we may want to look at again is this impeachment process, because it seems, in my view, to be a process which perhaps falls short of what the Constitution contemplated in terms of the threshold.
Yeah.
Because the Constitution only provides the grounds for removing a governor, for example. But the process is contained in the County Governments Act. With the benefit of hindsight, many people, including senators, will disagree with me on this, but I think it needs to be relooked at so that it achieves what was intended. That's just one example.
Yeah. Madam, the National Cohesion, also you had a report released last week on the devolution. What the gist of what you found out?
Actually, there are two main reports that the Commission has done. One assessed generally how devolution would promote national cohesion. It was a qualitative report. But there's also a quantitative report that just did the ethnic audit of the county public servants. And this entailed all employees of what we call the devolved departments, the local authorities, as well as the executive members in the county. So we asked, or rather we were doing this on all the 47 counties. However, we only got submissions from 15 counties. So far, we are still receiving. Yesterday, we received a report from Kwale County, and we're still receiving. So this, like was said earlier, is a draft report. And from this draft report, the National Cohesion and Integration Act, Section 7.1, says that every public establishment ought to have the representation of the diversity of Kenya. However, the County Governments Act, which applies directly to the county organs, does mention in Section 65 that the Public Service Board will take into consideration the need to have at entry level 70% of the vacancies go to dominant ethnic community, or rather not more than 70%, yeah, should go to the dominant ethnic community, and therefore 30% or even more should go to the minority communities within the counties. 3 out of the counties audited had the general composition of staff above 70%, and this included Kiambu County, and we had as well Makueni County. However, most of those received were well below 70%. We also audited the composition of the county executive committees and the public service boards themselves, which were put in place by the County Assembly Service Board. And in West Pokot County, we had 90% of the members being from the Pokot ethnic group, and we have one minority, the Sengwer, also included. We also had from Makueni County, where the CEC was 100% Kamba, from the Kamba community, that is. However, progressively, I guess, all the data that we received, actually not, the data analyzed does show that all the members that were inherited, or most of the members that were inherited from the local authorities, were quite diverse. Some members who are newly appointed seem to sort of quite come from one ethnic community. In essence, I'm saying that there's an issue with the newly appointed groups, because we had sort of...
They're not complying.
Since they are not complying, so what will be done to them so that they change?
Basically, moving forward, we shall contact these counties to put in place strategies, because most counties are still recruiting. They have not finished, like they've not finished recruitment. Like we are saying, devolution is still moving on. And so what we're doing is, the essence of doing an audit right now is to show them that if you're not complying, you ought to comply. In the new recruitments that you're doing, you must ensure, you must ensure that you recruit staff that will help you comply with that law.
Right, right. Yeah. Well, in general, I mean, obviously, people are celebrating devolution. But there's also fear that devolution has, in fact, entrenched and you know, worsened ethnicity and tribalism in this country. Well, is that your finding at the National Cohesion Integration Commission?
Yes, there are a number of cohesion concerns that we did find out that have not helped in terms of unifying communities at the county level. And one of them is the concern, especially of the minority communities. Remember, in Article 174 of the Constitution, one of the main objects of devolution is to promote and protect the rights and interests of the minority groups.
Yes.
The minority groups now feel that the dominant groups within the county are subjecting them to what they actually were feeling at the national level. But now it's closer,
yes,
and therefore the thrust is more intense. It's even more intense.
Yes.
However, there were also opportunities that we found out, which if we ride on, we might help moving forward achieve unity at the county level. And many opportunities, such as the presence of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, which work well in a smaller community as a county, than as opposed
negotiated, you know, settlements are happening. But let's look at discrimination or marginalization from the perspective not of employment, but of opportunities. For example, to do business with the local administrations. I have seen in counties, there is a clear hostility towards even contracts going out to people who are not from that county. So devolution has come to mean that resources must be utilized by the local people. I mean, if you are a minority, or if you are a trader in, say, Kitui, and you don't come from Kitui, what is the likelihood you're going to get a contract to do any work there? Are you probing that? Or if you are from Bungoma and you are, you know, you work and you do business in Bungoma and you're native of, say, Central or Luo Nyanza, the discrimination is going on.
But if you're a native of, I mean, sorry, not a native, but if you're a resident and do business in Bungoma,
yes,
then you are a resident for every practical purpose of Bungoma County.
That's true. Yes.
And I think there is a limit. Let's be honest with ourselves. There's a limit to which you can psychologically avoid the. Sorry, there's a limit to which you can avoid the psychology of ethnicity in these counties for the simple reason, David.
Yes.
That even the way we drew the county boundaries.
Yes.
We set ourselves up for it. I mean, that's why we ended up with 47 counties. And so we must make a special effort. And remember, it is because of lack of opportunities. It's not just ethnicity. It's because of lack of opportunities. I mean, I have heard it where people in Kisii County will be saying, no, that person is from Nyamira. It's not ethnicity. It's just that people there's limited opportunities, and they're
but
Mr.
Nchai, the thing is that not an admission that in fact devolution has intensified?
I don't think it has.
Or is actually it's supposed to help with, in many ways, and that is accepted.
Yeah.
But inherent danger of fostering the discrimination against minorities.
I don't think it has.
Apart from employment opportunities,
I don't think it has intensified it.
Yes.
I think it's just that the units are smaller, so the focus is greater. I mean, if you go back 3 years ago, looked at from a national perspective, nobody probably would have paid much attention to what extent are the El Chamus in Baringo County.
Yes.
From a national perspective, to what extent are they being discriminated against?
Yes.
But when you just zero down on Baringo County, the discrimination may be there, but the fact that it's a smaller unit means that we cannot avoid the issue. We must spotlight on it. So in fact, I view it positively.
Yeah.
Actually, I do agree with you because, like in West Pokot, the Sengwer for a long time had no political representation at national level. But at this point, they have bargaining power. They are a minority community, and that's why they are represented at the CC.
My problem is that you're looking at this discrimination and cohesion from the perspective of residents.
Actually, one of the findings...
Not at the point of citizen to citizen, and you're right as a citizen to procure opportunities in any environment. If you reside in Kiambu and you're from Bungoma like me, you are but an equal and fair chance to get a business contract from the Kiambu County government, for example, which is what I'm saying. That discrimination is very intense and pronounced across the country, that people who are presumed not to be natives or residents or minority resident, whatever it is, of those counties are being discriminated against. Is that not a concern of the NCIC?
What you say is very true, because from the research we found out that there's the perception that, we are people of this county. In fact, there's a county that has a name, the people of the county and the people of outside the county. The main problem here is when we talk about people from outside the county, what do we really mean? Because the law does recognize all residents of a county. Unfortunately, that definition is not about people resident in this county and people not resident in this county. It's about native communities and settler communities.
Yes.
That is the unfortunate bit. And at that point, I think we call upon social integration at a higher level, and not just in terms of the people living within the county. What I mean by this is we have to rally around shared cause, not only at county level where we seek for countyhood, but also at national level. Where we seek for national unity. And that is the essence of devolution, to foster national unity.
Interesting.
Remember, David, for the first time now we have legal, constitutional and legal provisions which require, even if it has not been done as successfully or as effectively as it would be, but at least we have the law that is there, so that, for example, in your native county of Bungoma, there is a law that requires that the Sabaot, for example, who are
a minority,
are integrated into all the now, how it works, it may be a continuous challenge for us to ensure that it works. But my point is that I think we are better off than we were pre-devolution.
Let's talk about money.
Yes.
There's an issue about collecting and spending.
Yeah.
It looks like a failure.
Why?
Looking at the press, the amount of money they didn't collect, the amount of money they didn't spend, and the amount of money they are spending badly.
I think there are many. I think. Okay, let me say this first, Mutegi. The money that is spent badly is not a problem of devolution. It is a national problem we have. It's just that with devolution we zero down more. But if we're really to do an analysis, money is probably spent more badly, for lack of a better phrase, at the national level. But it's a good thing that we're able to focus on the counties. Now, I think there are many reasons when I talk to people who are involved in at the counties and so on. There are a number of reasons or challenges why you end up with this scenario where money has not been spent, and one of the biggest ones is the procurement system, and I can identify with that. Working in a government institution, I can identify with that because the procurement system is so convoluted that a lot of the time people are not able, the institutions or the organs are not able to spend the money on the development projects as they would. So I think there's a need to address the procurement system. I also and I accept that you know, the money should have been spent better in terms of development projects. This is the first 1 year. There was time and energy spent on getting the systems right, on things like recruitments and determination of these functions and so on. So there was, to an extent, bound to be that challenge. I think the question for us now, all of us, is whether we have sufficiently learned from that experience so that going forward, the counties are able, as expeditiously and as efficiently as possible, to deliver services to the people using the revenue that is allocated from the center, as well as the revenue that they collect from the people at the counties.
Talking about you know, the health of devolution of devolved units. Today we saw the graphic details of a lot of money unspent, and in the last couple of days, expenditure on foreign trips, you know, benchmarking has become a very conventional word. There are worries that a lot of these excesses, if I may use those words, by county governments need to be reined in legally by setting limits for expenditure on this or that, or this development, travel, entertainment, or whatever it is. Is that something to consider 1 year down the line from our experience? Again,
David, in my view, that's a problem for us as a country. It's not a problem that is peculiar to devolution. Who has done an analysis on what national government spends, what this so-called benchmarking and study tours? Who has done an analysis on what members of parliament spend on that and other government officials? It's a problem. It's a national problem. Let's not sort of target just to devolution. Right? It's something that we need to address.
Seem to be a very ardent defender of devolved government.
No, all I'm saying.
Every time a query comes about the county, you deflect it to the national.
No, what I'm saying is that we must distinguish between issues that are peculiar to counties and issues which are just national, part of the problem, systemic part of our problem. And the reason that I may sound defensive about it is because if we are not careful, it will be, some of these things will be used as reasons to suggest that devolution is failing.
It's failing.
Yeah.
Whereas to throttle it.
Whereas really they're just challenges that we need to address as a nation.
But nevertheless, if they are very evident at that point, wouldn't we use that as a case study to arrest it?
To arrest it?
so that you can apply the same whip nationally.
I agree.
But here is an apparent, evident malaise that needs to be cured.
I agree. I'm not for 1 minute defending the idea of 50 MCAs going to Israel for some study tour. I mean, I was listening to Owerumburu this morning, and someone, assuming the statistics he was rolling out to be accurate, it was quite embarrassing.
Yes,
and I agree. They need to be they need to be addressed.
But this is not in your remit. Would you be suggesting to the relevant institutions?
Remit, no.
I mean, you don't originate laws.
No,
you sieve them.
Yeah.
They originate from the Attorney General and the Law Reform Commission
and
Parliament. And Parliament,
yeah,
of course, both go to Parliament.
Yeah.
But wouldn't this be something you'd be pointing in the right direction for intervention as you do your report on the state of devolution?
Yes, but, and I think there are other institutions, you're right, but I think there are other institutions that are probably more specifically, like the Commission on Revenue Allocation, and to a certain extent the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. I think would be more specifically engaged in that, because for us it's really a question of ensuring that the systems are in place and that they are working. Now, technically speaking, if everything that should be done has been done in order to arrive at the decision that 50 MCAs from County X go on a trip to Malaysia, I may have very little to say in opposition to that from the perspective of CIC.
But from the perspective
other than prudent use of resources. But what I'm saying is that I'm in agreement, but there's across the board, including other institutions, which perhaps should originate laws that may rein in that.
Let's go back to you, Madam, and your report. You said that you received information from 15 counties.
Yes.
How accurate are those reports? How do you know they don't cook them to suit their own interests?
Okay, the audit form is derived directly from the payroll, and so we also have the payroll to just authenticate the information that is given to us. It's quite unlikely that the information can be manipulated. However, there are chances that that can happen. We always verify that from the payrolls.
And don't you have a deadline? Why are you saying you got 15?
Yes, we do have a deadline.
Yes.
And the deadline is already passed.
Yes.
And the counties that have not remitted, we are actually doing summons for them to bring the data to us with another deadline. If they will not comply to that deadline, we shall then be able to take up in another.
What can you do?
There are
what
many ways.
What sanctions are provided for under your act? You recommend, or
they can compel them?
No, a summons from the commission secretary of the commission is similar to an order from the High Court. And so if the counties will not comply to that summons, then we can take them to court.
Well, there was an audit done by 2 years ago, civil service audit, which found very, outrageous disparities in the employment, in the population of the civil service. What has happened since then? Have you done, have you revised, have you gone back to check whether it was acted upon?
Yes, actually action started soon after that. The civil service ethnic and diversity audit was done in 2011. And amongst the strategies that were taken were transfers from certain ministries to other ministries. That does not, of course, cure the overall problem. However, it was really important that specific ministries represent the diversity of the country. Number two, we also had an engagement with the police in 2012 when the recruitment was being done, and some minority ethnic groups were affirmatively taken in by lowering the bar of admission.
Yes.
We shall do monitoring again of the civil service in this year, the last part of the year. This is in September. We shall be undertaking another audit of the civil service, and we'll be doing this every other 4 years. We've undertaken an audit of the public higher institutions of learning.
Yes.
And the trend was actually the same, just like in the civil service, where we find that ethnic groups dominant in particular universities are actually from the local area of the universities, where the universities are located. And we shall be doing this again in another 4 years, just for monitoring. But in the meantime, what we do is we engage the institutions and we come up with strategies on how they can progressively
achieve that.
Yes.
But is it feasible that really in some areas you can achieve a 30% threshold of non-local dominant community? And was this realistic? Say, for example, you go to a place, let's assume Marsabit, and you go and find you cannot populate the employment there, we cannot get sufficient people from outside. Yeah. What would happen? It's possible that you can find situations where you cannot actually achieve a 30% unless you lower the standards and requirements to the level of mediocrity to achieve that 30%.
David, I do not agree with you on that. First, there are two laws here in place. Yeah. The NCI Act does apply to national institutions, and in Section 7 it says no public establishment shall have more than a third of its employees from the same ethnic community. So yes. All national institutions yes. Are audited at 33.3%.
Yes.
Okay. County governments
yes.
are subject to the County Governments Act, Section 65, where it says all vacancies at entry level yes. shall not have more than 70% from the dominant ethnic community.
Yes. Yeah.
And I tell you, Makali, 70%
yes.
are lots and lots of vacancies. Take, for example, a county government that has 5,000.
I'm saying the challenge would be
to get the 30%. Not at
in
all.
some areas.
Not at all. All our counties are actually heterogeneous. I know there's a report that has said some counties are homogeneous. It is not true. You will really? Find all ethnic communities almost in all our counties, residents.
Yeah.
In our
you may
counties.
Strive, but you'll occasion prejudice to others who are legitimately qualified that are local in order to accommodate the 30% non-local.
In fact, the law, I think, seeks to address the feeling of prejudice that we might have during interviews, where you feel like this is someone from my ethnic community or my group, and therefore you are lenient to them during interviews, yes. and therefore you tend to give people from a specific ethnic group. However, yes. if you know that you have to accomplish this law, you become more objective during interviews, and you incorporate people from other areas as well, or other ethnic groups as well. It's very possible to achieve that.
Somebody says, before we get out of the devolution, somebody says devolution has boosted tribalism and favoritism. We have been demoted due to ethnicity, and sons of the soil promoted even without qualifications. This is somebody called Joshua from Migori. That panders to what I'm saying.
That's true.
I accept that there's a challenge, but I think Joshua oversimplifies it.
Yes.
I accept there's a challenge. I mean, even some of the counties we've been to, like Turkana and so on, they've raised that issue that what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to lower our standards? But I think the way around it really is it's more a question of attitude than anything else. I think if people accept that, and I think, by the way, Sela, I think it is theoretical to say that there are no homogeneous
counties.
Counties. I mean, there are counties where basically
90%.
Yeah, 90 or more. I mean, that's almost as homogeneous as you can get. But you get counties where, like Turkana, where they accept that even to get even that 70% side. I mean, to fill in positions, even from their own people, especially skilled positions,
You may
is
not-
already a challenge before you even get to the
Yeah. Would the counties be required to recruit nationally rather than from the local residents so that they can meet the threshold of 70-30 in some cases? Because what is happening is jobs are being filled in the counties on the county government based on local, even though they advertise in national newspapers.
Yeah.
They advertise in national newspapers to local people, not to the country.
Yeah, I think that is true. I think, and I think that is an important point, because after all, you can recruit people and at which point do you define if somebody is a resident? I mean, if there's a if I'm seated here in Nairobi and Turkana advertises a
And you
position,
apply.
which I apply and I feel I want to do, there's nothing wrong with me taking up the position.
But the
and
current practice is they'll tell you this is not a guy he's from Nairobi. We need somebody who is around here.
but they're already having challenges even with people within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The truth of the matter is that there are no quick
Solutions to it,
solutions.
yeah.
But it's a question of recognizing these challenges and continuing to have an engagement about them.
I wanted to find out why you are launching a report in Nakuru.
No particular reason in Nakuru. The idea was to get away from Nairobi because everything happens in Nairobi, and we just thought that it's a good idea to get away from Nairobi, since we are dealing with counties. Nakuru was as good a choice as any. I think it's a good choice because it tends to be a fairly cosmopolitan county. But there's no magic about Nakuru. We just...
It is Tembea Kenya. Tembea Kenya, in effect. Okay. Yeah, we're coming to the end. Perhaps just your closing remarks, Charles, on what you think going forward, the biggest challenge that has to be dealt with, although you'll be talking about this tomorrow.
Yes.
Going forward, in the next 1 year, what do you think is the one single thing that we must fix for devolution to work?
I think the biggest thing that we need let me say I think there are two things that we need to fix for devolution. First of all, the institutions that feed into devolution. I think they've had a year of settling down, and I think it's crucial that they actually now each focus on what devolution is about, which is delivering of services to the people, so that we must get away from the bickering that we have seen around devolution, whether it is between the two houses of Parliament, for example, on the issue of the Division of Revenue Bill, whether it is between the Senate and the governors in what appears to be some tough wars, whether it is between at the county level, whether it is between the MCAs and the governors and the executive, because the constitution is very clear. It gives all these organs, it gives them a specific role and mandate. And the contemplation of the constitution is that if everybody delivers on their specific role and mandate, then the end result will be that Wanjiko will be able to receive services and to benefit from devolution, which is really what the essence is. Right. The other thing which I think counties as well as the national government must do as we move forward now is to up the involvement of the public. This is a constitutional empowerment. The public needs civic education. The public needs to be involved in participation of everything that is going on, and that's the only way that the public will be able to, one, monitor the success of devolution, and two, make it their own contribution to the success of devolution. Finally, David,
yes,
I want, as I always do, to remind the people of Kenya that when we're talking about devolution, remember, what are we comparing it with? We are comparing it with 50 years of a centralized system that has failed us. So let's not just focus on the challenges of devolution.
So we
must
must
ensure that it works.
The good things, even though we critically so. So I'll come to you just in 30 seconds. You are the equality police, and there are big issues in this country. Even as we speak now, part of the noise, to use a word that code is making, has to do with equal opportunity, inclusivity, this whole agenda is right at your doorstep. Maybe you need to say something about whether we're moving forward and whether your commission is really engaged on this issue of equality, which seems to be creating a problem around our national unity. And somebody posted something really very interesting here. I'll cite this for, case. I'm the only Rendile working in a public university in Kenya. Doesn't that worry NCIC? That's very particular.
Yeah, from that comment, yes, it does worry NCIC, and in that case, NCIC has engaged all institutions of higher learning, both public universities and their constituent colleges, to ensure that minorities are included even more. We shall, as I said, be doing another audit to see whether these strategies have been put in place or not. Number two, equality is the main mandate of the Commission, because we do exist to promote and facilitate equality of opportunities amongst Kenyans. And all the work we do entirely goes to ensure that equality of opportunities are promoted at different levels, not only in employment, but also in access to resources and other opportunities. As my final remark, I would actually say that devolution, like Nyashai has put it, it has an opportunity, it has inroads, and it's actually a vehicle for us to use to cohese, not only at the county level, but at the national level, because there are several opportunities that we can ride on to ensure that unity has been achieved. And therefore, it shouldn't look like devolution has divided us so much. We ought actually to look at the negative ethnicity that has thrown this country apart at national level, even the issues you're mentioning right now, as opposed to what is actually happening
at
those
issues
level.
Occupying you? To the extent that people are saying, okay, inclusivity or discrimination, or people are not being, appointments are not being spread out across, you have been quiet, and this is really your table. Is it because you don't have commissioners right now?
Actually, people think we are quiet because perhaps it doesn't, we don't appear in media, maybe. There is a lot of work that's been happening, and yes, like you've said, for the past about 6 months, we have not had commissioners. Thankfully, a week ago, there is an advert out there for commissioners, and hopefully we'll have them very soon.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a lot of work going on.
What about hate speech? You have ignored completely hate speech. Being mouthed all over.
Well, they summoned the courier the other day. He went there and defended himself, and yeah. Anyway, we don't have enough time, but we have maybe got into that a bit. But today we are on devolution. We'll call her here in the commission to talk about hate speech and those other things. Let's end it there. Thank you, Sela Kingoro, the Senior Director in charge of Research and Planning at NSIC, and Chairman Charles Nyachai of the Constitution Implementation Commission, launching their one-year report on devolution tomorrow. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Keep watching Power Breakfast.